Hello everybody, and welcome to our video about Kirby's Avalanche, the puzzle game that I'm sure everyone forgot about. And you're listening to my second attempt at making this video, because Sony Vegas is programmed by a bunch of complete douchewangs, and I lost my original video, so here we are, doing this all over again. So, Kirby's Avalanche is, pretty typical for puzzle games coming out around the SNES era. There were definitely quite a few games doing this sort of thing. Puyo Puyo knockoffs are a pretty good example of games that are essentially Mario Party minigames being developed into console releases, because, as we all know, back in the day, phones were not capable of doing that, and unfortunately for anyone thinking that they want a revival of this, you're pretty much gonna have to deal with being on phones, because consoles nowadays, just not really the place for these sorts of games. I wish I would have had the appreciation of this game a bit more, because I do remember liking it. As I'm looking at the footage, I did like playing this game. It's just that I ran into a difficulty wall of some sort, and I couldn't figure it out, so that's why we're doing an impressions video, combining it with a ranty podcast, and we're just gonna say that's our off-the-cuff review of Kirby's Avalanche. Definitely a well-made game, pretty challenging Tetris puzzler, so if you're into this sort of thing, I'd recommend seeking it out. This is gonna be the first, as you can see, the first lesson against Waddle Dee. It's just the easy introduction to combos, how the controls work, and all that good stuff. Unfortunately, the tutorial wasn't good enough for me to not completely screw the pooch later on down the line, so yeah. We're gonna be talking about a couple of topics later, but I figured that we'd stay on track for the first part of this game, just so we could, you know, get the gist of what the heck Kirby's Avalanche is all about. It's essentially a port of a different puzzle game made by Compile, and they put a Kirby skin on it because Nintendo allowed them to do that. And that's basically the entire game. Technically it has a campaign mode. It has a single player mode where you're doing this. You're playing the puzzle game against bots. I kind of wish it was more like Pokemon Puzzle League, where the standard difficulty was just kind of an easy slide through the whole game, but unfortunately they kind of try to do it a bit technical. They try to do a bit more right by the game, so difficulty spikes a little bit later on. We'll see the point where I stop playing later, so this is just going to be a nice video between us. We're going to be doing a couple of the ranty topics later, right after this match, and we're going to have a good time, because I got a couple things I wanted to say, and I figured this would be the perfect excuse to do it. Waddle Dee is drowning pretty hard, which is definitely something that he's pretty used to, being the tutorial character. He has to deal with this every day, and I just feel bad for the guy. Look, he could have had a start of a beautiful combo there, and he fucked it up. It's a real shame. You know, he doesn't know how to speed drop things, which would have been pretty helpful in his situation, and it's just sad to see. God, he's just getting comboed to death by Kirby, and he's doing nothing to help out. Who would later on be one of his main character buddies, but I guess this isn't the bandana Waddle Dee, so he doesn't count. It's a true shame. No camaraderie on Superstar, or Pop Star is where his home is named. Yeah, we're about done here. And that is the weirdest goddamn animation I've ever seen a Waddle Dee ever do. I figured we'd also show the second lesson as well, because I decided to include like 8 battles, and it turned out to be less than a half hour, so it wasn't much for podcast content, so, you know, we're gonna be doing it this way instead. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and this might date the video, the first thing I wanted to talk about was Jim Sterling. I wanted to rant a little bit about this because at the time of talking, this was the week of the video he put up where he said, I think that he said he was going to celebrate his loss of 900,000 subscribers. And if he does that, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be out at that point. Because to me, the infuriating part of it is that I've been a subscriber of his for a very long time. I think I joined up around the time that he changed his Squirty Plays into his Gympressions, so it was a long time ago. And back then he was doing great work, he was doing Let's Plays and trailer reviews constantly. He had a lot of ancillary content, and even later on, when news started becoming a bigger and bigger thing, he joined on that, and he probably produced about 170, 150, I don't remember the number, news segments, and then he completely stopped. So it's infuriating because it's, you know, I'm a longtime fan of his work, and I think at this point, it's gonna be the time to get out. Because if he does do that, he does actually produce a video celebrating a loss of subscribers, then he does not care anymore. And he likes to, again, another reason why it's infuriating is that he's blaming things that are not the problem for his faults. He's blaming the fact that he's come out as a transsexual, which is not the fucking problem. It's probably a good, like, less than 1% amount of people would have left for that. But it's not a major issue of why he's losing subs. And the other thing is that he's blaming the algorithm for him getting buried in the metrics, which is technically true, but it's more to do with the fact that he's producing algorithmically unfriendly content. Back in the day, he made a name for himself off of his goofy Let's Plays, and being the quote-unquote sheriff of Steam, one of the biggest voices criticizing his practices and the shitty developers there within. Back way long ago, he decided that because nothing he was producing the viewer figures of the Gymquisition, he just threw every other ancillary series he ever did out the window because he considered it valueless to produce that sort of content. And technically it is true. He is never gonna have the views of a Gymquisition, it's just never going to be. But it's still important because that content you produce not only produce some of your best content in that your spats with Steam developers like the Meltdowns were some of your best content because it was completely unique, it was negative, and it was also really funny. It hit everything, and now that you're not doing that anymore, that's completely out the window. And the other important thing is that it keeps you in our subscriber feeds. Jim only shows up in my subscriber feeds like twice a week now. It might increase a bit more because he's doing more game reviews, which is always good. It's good that he's doing other things. But it's too little too late at this point, especially when he's giving up. It's really fucking infuriating that he's never gonna recognize what the actual issue is and produce content that I'm sure a small amount of his audience is missing. All this week I've been watching the old Gympressions and, you know, remember the good old days when he would produce things like his Bosscinerator games, which are fucking hilarious. And it's just a true shame that, just like Retsupre moving to Twitch and completely, basically not appearing as Retsupre anymore, is a real shame. But I do understand it in their case, because YouTube is never going to pay them as much as Twitch can for less work. The good thing about Twitch is that if you have a dedicated audience, then you're always going to succeed. You can succeed with a lot less people in your business, is from it what it looks like. So that's I'm just gonna end it there. I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's incredibly stupid and short-sighted of Jim Sterling to turn his back on his audience and to produce, you know, things that don't bring in an audience. They're counter to it because it just grates on people. And he can still produce the stuff he wants to produce in a way that, you know, keeps people watching, but he's not doing that anymore, and now he doesn't have any interest in doing it, so it's just really annoying. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Marvel's Avengers is getting a proper ass-kicking by its fans. The the limited amount of fans that still hang around, for its roadmap event, which was a word that apparently I couldn't remember, a classic problem of mine that you might have noticed even in this video. So yeah, if you haven't heard this story yet from Yongya or any of the other news outlets, Marvel's Avengers put out another one of its events. It's actually keeping up the illusion a bit better than other companies for continued support for a game that I don't even know at this point is even brought Square Enix money. Did they even break even on it? I don't know. I mean, it's entirely possible considering your events are bringing in 1,500 players on Steam. And I'm sure that you're missing quite a lot of that 5% that buy all the microtransactions. But at this point, Creative Dynamics or Square Enix or whoever is driving the train on this complete train wreck doesn't fucking get it. Okay, they're still trying to do the thing that they did when they launched this game in the first place. This game was launched with the idea that Marvel fans would have bought literally anything with the Marvel IP on it. Which might have been true, but they produced it so badly, and with so much of that assumption in line with its development, that they completely fucked it. And did the opposite of what they were intending to do. And now they gotta play fucking catch up to try and retain this small audience that they have left who are still willing to play the game, who haven't completely moved on at this point and saw through the live service fucking grift. And now they're just making it worse because these events are supposed to be the big showstoppers bringing people in. Like, this is supposed to be the one time of the month that the players come back to see what you're actually doing. You are fucking this up by putting the skins in the paid shop. You are still having this attitude, thinking that you can monetize this audience, and at this point, you need to do the fucking opposite. You need to show them a reason to continue sticking around, and you're not doing that. It's so fucking stupid and ass backwards thinking that, frankly, at this point, you deserve the absolute mess that is Marvel's Avengers. Any one of these live service developers, and especially the big AAA ones, who push this sort of bullshit, they'll buy anything so we can do whatever the fuck we want, they deserve the fucking train wreck that they have to try and clean up for the next 5-7 months, however long they want to keep up the illusion for their small, insignificant audience at that point. You know, the Bethesdas and the Electronic Arts and the Ubisofts, anytime they make a fucked up live service that fails to make an audience impact, you deserve to be fucking raked over the coals and losing money. The unfortunate part is that unless they fuck up real bad, a company's never gonna lose money on these sorts of projects because they're always attached to big IPs. You know, the ones they know will make money. So frankly, I just wanted to point that out. Okay? Square Enix, if you're allowing this, you are completely thinking ass backwards on this. Especially since when people even saw the skins in the first place, the skins that you paid off, they saw that they were even good quality skins and you're still charging them over $10 per. That's fucked up. You should never be paying more than even $5 for a fucking A skin. That's absurd. A skin, a character skin, is not a lot of resources they put in. The fucking price of this shit is all over the map. And frankly, it's no wonder that only 5% of any fucking of these audiences are buying most of these transactions. You almost have to fucking trick people with your design to get them to buy this shit. It's the same story every fucking time, and it never goddamn changes. And it never changes because they know they have their fucking defenders. You know, I do have to put this on the audience a little fucking bit. You know, not really the loot boxes at the start, it's kind of the after stuff. You know, when stuff like this happens. And they accept it. And they accept it because it's become acceptable in the dumbest way possible. And it just really fucking annoys me when we have people who are anti-consumer advocates or business advocates in the consumer side of things. It's completely ridiculous. It's not keeping developers afloat, as we've seen multiple times from Activision. It's not going into the coffers of the people who actually do the fucking work. This whole fucking scam is just to line the pockets I know that, you know, pundits have just gone on, but it is actually true. This entire scam is just built to line the pockets of the people at the fucking top. We really need to think about that's the case and it's fucked up. Okay? So you really need to stop using that as a defense because it's just wrong. That's the thing. It's just incorrect. You know, it's not a disagreement. It's not a different perspective on things. It's not a thing that could happen at some point. It's just wrong. And frankly, you need to wake up and see that that's not the case. Okay, stop putting that in your thought process. Because even if you're just doing it to call out people you don't like on the internet, if even all you're doing this is just to call out the pundits and make up a reason why they're wrong, you're never going to convince them because they already don't agree with you. It just really boggles the mind when shit like this happens. When someone is actually lying to you and you fucking propagate that lie, because it is a lie. It's the great American lie that these corporations are out to help people. They're not out to help people. Their first thought in the day is, how is this going to be good for me or for the business? And that's just a runaroundy way of saying, how is this best for me, the CEO, because I draw my fucking bonuses from the company, no matter how bad or how good it's doing. Because for some reason, boards of directors have a hard time shooting down these bonus requests no matter what it's for. Even it's the most shameless shit, they fucking still vote for it. That one story where the board of directors at Activision shut down Kotick was an outlier. It was not the status quo. And he really had to push freaking hard to make that happen. And if you want to defend that by saying, oh, he took a half pay cut now, it's not the same fucking thing as when Nintendo did that, because they did that for a fucking reason. This one is just him trying an optics job and failing at it because we already know that he's still retaining and seeking out these giant bonuses, which are multiple hundreds of percents more than his fucking regular pay. So it's literally just an optics job. It's just so fucking people can put out pro-business articles saying, oh, Kotick did this thing that seems really nice, until you fucking look at the context around it. I know I'm starting to sound a little bit like Jim because he's already pointed all this out. But it's true. That's why I'm pointing it out again. Because it doesn't fucking matter what his base pay is. Most of his wealth comes from his bonuses and his stock options, which he can also manipulate as the leader of the company into doing buybacks and selling based on, you know, major news that he basically develops himself. And that's kind of a scam. And let's not forget the actual scam of him never paying his fucking taxes. And also his company never paying his fucking taxes. Hardy, hardy, har. You hear that joke I made about him? So yeah, the world's just full of shitty news. Just like that board on Kabu's side. That is the shittiest looking Tetris board I've ever goddamn seen, Kabu. You might as well have just thrown in the towel at this point. I don't know why this was such an easy one to get, but I wish that all of them were like that. I wish it was like Pokemon Puzzle League. I appreciated that game, especially the 3D cylinder version. Oh, that was fun. So yeah, that's those are the topics I wanted to rail about. Fuck Marvel's Avengers. Fuck these tone-deaf development notes and these stupid live services. And honestly, fuck live services in general. What have they brought us, the consumer? What have they actually done for us? Because the status quo is Marvel's Avengers. It's not... The status quo isn't, oh, this game gets free DLC fueled by its goddamn paid store that 5% of the audience pays for. No, that's never been the case. It's been the case a handful of times. And that's it. You know, not every game is fucking Warframe. These games are usually fucking like Division 2. You know, they'll tell you the DLC anyway. Apparently it's supposed to be a live service, but it still has fucking DLC attached. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was a DLC, but it was basically just a regular fucking Ubisoft game with maybe, I don't know, what's the difference? A couple of more shitty free quests that are usually the goddamn pre-order bonus. Pre-order bonuses that are no longer a thing, fuck God. Hell yeah. And still people pre-order their goddamn games. I don't know why. I assume at this point they want to show support to the games they like, which I guess would make sense if you were pre-ordering Resident Evil 8. But in the other cases, why? I mean, maybe it lets you preload the game faster? I don't know. Like, maybe someone in the comments, Hardy Har, can remind me, what in 2021, what's the point of pre-ordering? Are people just trying to show their support for a game they like? Are they preloading the game? Are they getting, like, access to the demo? Because it's never a fucking open beta. It's always a demo. Because these open betas always come out so quick to the actual release. What do you think they're actually going to change to that point? What was the open beta of Fallout 76 or Anthem gonna do for fucking anybody? These are demos, okay? Don't use that to defend things like Red Dead Online, which had problems at launch. It might be fine now, I don't know. I've never heard about it since it's basically its launch, so it's probably fine nowadays. I would assume that Rockstar would have had to concede a little bit of their greed in order to make their game actually have an audience. Or maybe they just started adding content to it until people were like, okay, this is fun now. And they'll still keep the greedy bullshit. I don't know. I don't understand these games. I don't understand modern gaming at all. Like, I've stopped buying games like modern games ages ago. I only do it rarely nowadays. Like, at some point I'm gonna pick up Resident Evil 8. I was kind of hoping to find a new job before then to kind of financially justify doing that. But you don't need to know about that. You don't need to know about that. I suppose we can point out for shits and giggles that Fallout 76, which is still Fallout 76, hasn't become a completely different game. That still has $100 a year membership for Fallout 76. I know there are people who have legitimate reasons for signing up because they're like Fallout 76 merchants, which fine if you can merchandise. If you can mercantile Fallout 76 for your own benefit, fine. Because you can make a market out of anything that has any popularity. And, you know, that thing doesn't necessarily have to be good to be justifiable. If it's a business expense and something that you can make money off of, then there you go. I just wanted to point out that Fallout 76 is still shit and offers fucking nothing. So, yay. The dumpster fire that, I guess it did burn out. Okay, so this is the match of the game that I stopped on. I did have a good option to do it, so we're gonna see basically the last game thing that I played for this. This is the match I couldn't get my head around. And I kind of felt shitty about it after I saw it the first time that I did this fucking video. Because I was looking at it, I was like, you know, why the hell was I annoyed at the game to stop playing? It looks like I could have gotten it if I dumped in a few more tries. And I think the point was that at that point I probably dumped around 6 attempts into this game at that time, and I was like, I probably was done. I was looking forward to playing Dreamland 3, so I fucking did. I suppose to end the video, I can talk to you about what I've been playing lately. Later tonight, and actually right after this, I'm going to be doing another stream of Y2K, the RPG, which It's been a very interesting game. I still have not figured out why people fucking hated it. I understand the combat's annoying, the story's kinda dumb. Alex is a complete douchebag of a main character, but those are, I could deal with all of those things. Because it still has some interesting ideas, it still has some interesting puzzle sections. I still understand where the extreme hatred came from. Maybe at some point in the game, that'll change, I don't know. Other than that, I'm waiting for my copy of Samus Returns to come in through the mail. I'm supposed to get that at the end of the week. But at the same time, I've also been playing Castlevania. I stopped at Super Castlevania 4, which even though it was a SNES game, you know, very old, probably early, mid-90s, very impressed with that game. Very impressed, especially after seeing the original trilogy of Castlevania. It has amazing visuals. They almost got the combat where it needed to be a timeless game. But, you know, for what it is, they just still designed it very well. I just wish they would have made it accessible difficulty. I mean, Konami back in those days was fucking vicious. And even though, you know, you basically have infinite continues and the checkpoints are semi-reasonable, I mean, they still have instant death traps. And, God, those suck. So, yeah, I've been playing pretty good games lately, with Y2K being the exception. And that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed our cursory look at Kirby's Avalanche. And hey, if you're into puzzle games, check it out. You know, get your SNES 9Xs out and check it out. I definitely recommend it. It looks like an interesting puzzle game. But until next time, I appreciate you watching the video. And I hope you guys have a good night.